I'd like to yield now to the gentlelady from Wisconsin, the great state of Wisconsin, and to extend whatever time she may need. Appreciate, again, her leadership, compassion, and dedication on so many issues, but particularly on bringing the voice and perspective of people who aren't always heard in this institution. I have great respect and admiration for her, and I'd like to yield time now to Representative Gwen Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Horsford. I would first like to join my colleagues in grieving and celebrating the life of Michael Brown. I would hope that his short life will not have been lived in vain, that his death will teach us something that will serve the nation, so that others will not have to endure this. I am particularly feeling empathy with Ms. McSpadden, his mother, as the mother of two young black male children. Mr. Horsford, it has been a constant terror in my life that I would experience what Ms. McSpadden has experienced. You know, after Ferguson, I watched an episode of a comedy, Girlfriends, and a young black mother was chastising her son for being arrested. And she mentioned that she didn't appreciate having to come down to the police station to pick him up. They had just recently moved to a suburb. And she asked him, "What were you doing?" And he said, I was just walking down the street. And she commented, and there was laughter in the audience, "Why were you walking down the street? You know we hadn't had our meet and greet with the police department yet." And so I am saying that to say this. We need a truth and reconciliation in this country, similar to what they experienced in South Africa about the plight of young black males. They are marginalized, and every social institution fails them by the time they're 18 years old, like Michael Brown. The educational system has failed them. So often, as a state legislator, we would build a prison bed based on the third grade reading tests of young black men. The economy has failed young black men by the time they're 18 years old. And so what we find in these communities is a hyper-vigilant police force that is dealing with a preponderance of social failure. And we lay all of society's failures at the feet of the police department. I do applaud you, Mr. Horsford, for the efforts you have made in this House. I'm a proud co-sponsor of your Universal Respect Act, which directs the President to do a comprehensive review of law enforcement policies across the country in order to eliminate procedures that result in racial profiling. I think that this is really a threshold toward that end of a reconciliation. And I've long been a supporter of ending Racial Profiling Act, which is has been offered by one of the deans of this House, Representative John Conyers, that makes it clear that law enforcement agencies cannot engage in racial profiling anywhere in the country. I do think that there are baby steps that we can take. Certainly, one giant step toward increasing accountability is to install these lapel cameras on all law enforcement agencies. As a matter of fact, I was very proud in 2009 to secure $100,000 for the police department in Milwaukee to purchase cameras for their cars. I do think it's also important that law enforcement agencies, members, police officers be stakeholders in their communities that they're serving. It did not escape my attention that the involved officer in the untimely death of Michael Brown lived 25 miles away. And that is why I am tremendously concerned about efforts in my own state where our governor, Scott Walker, acted to end residency requirements for police officers over a year ago. That's currently in litigation for that very reason. You don't want police officers to become a military occupying force in a community. You force a kind of transparency and accountability when those police officers go to your churches, they shop at your grocery stores, and they're part of your community. And I certainly applaud the Justice Department involvement in this issue. I do think that no one had ever heard of Ferguson, Missouri before August 9th. And certainly the name Michael Brown is a name shared probably by millions of people. And I say that to say this, that this is not just about Ferguson or just about Michael Brown. It's about the direction and the future of America, where we're going with this. You know, as to paraphrase Dr. Martin Luther King, we will either live together as brothers or we will perish as fools. I think young black men have tremendous talent. They have a lot to offer. The legacy of slavery has brought us to the point where seeing a 6'4" black man walking down the street in and of itself is a threat. And we need some truth and reconciliation around that issue. You know, may Michael Brown rest in peace, and may his life lift us to a greater understanding and reconciliation around this issue. And I yield back to you. Thank you so much for this special order.
Thank you. I thank the gentlelady from Wisconsin, and thank you for your very compassionate remarks and the perspectives of so many people who are expecting this Congress to act. And we will take heed of your words and your recommendations.